Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. Going to have a look at whether it's week 10 days. Today's video will also have a look at the CFS V2, which is going to take us to the end of September. So we'll have a look at that. Have a look at central temperature, turning into a very warm start to September. We'll start off by looking at the wall that we've got across the country at the moment. It is very, very muggy and humid right now. So we'll have a look at that in a second. Before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all the pages. Have a browse through the widgets and click through the links. You'll be helping us to pay for the website, and thanks very much for doing that. There's video ads on most of the pages which open up content, and when you watch them, they close back up again. It does all help to pay for gasweathers.com. So I'll start off by looking at the dew point at the weatheroutlook.com. So the dew point is essentially a reflection of how much moisture and humidity you've got in the atmosphere. So the higher the dew point, the more humid it's going to be. And we have got very high dew points at the moment. So, for example, across Scotland, the dew point generally is around 15 to 17 degrees. Across Northern Ireland, it's generally around 17, 18 degrees. Down across England and Wales, it's anything from around, say, 17 to 20 degrees. There is one dew point flashing away there near Oxford at 21. I'm not sure about that. It's very out of line with all the other dew points, but it's approaching 20 degrees anyway across many parts of England and Wales with the dew point right now. So with such high dew points, obviously it is going to be very humid, a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, really sticky and humid weather. Last night in Northern Ireland we had the warmest September night on record. The temperature stayed close to 20 degrees, and I think that's the case for large parts of the country as well. Actually, possibly not breaking the record, but certainly very, very warm and sticky and uncomfortable night across many parts of the country last night. So this is the GFS dew point forecast for the next few days. This is starting off today. You can see these orange colours indicating the high dew point, just looking at them with the weather outlook. So the scales on the side of the chart, anything from around, say, 16 to 20 degrees there in terms of the dew point across most parts of the country. Now, tonight it is going to be a little bit more comfortable compared to last night. The dew points will dip a little bit. It's still quite warm and humid and sticky, but not quite, I don't think, as bad as it was last night. Pretty warm dew points again tomorrow, although the far south and southeast actually a little bit fresher there. The dew point isn't quite as high down in the south and southeast, but for parts of Wales, the Midlands, Northern, still pretty warm and still very sticky there. It's really when you get through to Thursday, but we find things beginning to change. Cooler dew points then starting to move in from the west. It's 6 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, and Thursday, look at that, it's a much more comfortable day. We've lost the oranges, we've gone down to yellows, so be a much fresher, much more comfortable day on Thursday. As we go through to Friday, it may actually turn a little bit more humid again, particularly down in the south. Not as bad as it is right now, but Friday could be a little bit more humid down in the south. And then into the weekend, it turns much cooler then. Look at this. Proper cool air coming in off the Atlantic, with dew points going below 10 Celsius across some northern and western parts of the country on Saturday, and even cooler on Saturday night. So things will freshen up over the coming few days. Got a day or two to go before properly fresher air arrives, but the worst is nearly over with this very sticky and humid feel. This having an effect on the central England temperature. It's shooting up again. So far for September, this is provisional up to the 5th, we stand at 16.3, which is an anomaly of 1.5 degrees. A little bit more than 1.5 degrees above average. It's probably going to increase a bit more over the next day or so. It could finish up somewhere around 2 degrees above average as the anomaly. So very warm start to September. The last time we had a central England temperature for September in the 16 Celsius was back in 2006, so quite a long time ago, actually 10 years ago, when we came out at 16.8. That was an exceptionally warm September, I think just about the warmest on record. It was actually warmer than the August that preceded it, which doesn't happen very often. August 2006 came out at 16.1. So it's been quite a while since had a very warm September. We had 2011 and 2014, which had central temperatures of 15.1 in both years. That's pretty warm. And before that, or the years before and after that, generally in the 13 and 14 Celsius sort of bracket, which is close to average, really, for a September CT. Last year was actually quite cool, with central temperature came out at 12.6. I think it's the coolest September since 1994. So it looks like this year's going to be substantially warmer, though it is early days and there is plenty of time to see this central temperature cooling down over the coming few weeks. Have a look at the GFS temperature and precipitation ensemble. You see, it's generally forecast to say to stay above average with the temperatures. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average, significantly warmer than average right now, and very sticky, of course. I think tomorrow could see a maximum temperature around London, maybe around 28 degrees, which is 83 Fahrenheit, although it will be a little bit less humid, at least, with that. But unusually humid and usually hot at the moment. Things will cool down towards the weekend. We saw that with the dew point. It's going to turn cooler and fresher, but only going down to average, really. And then next week, actually, it looks like the temperature's lifting up a bit again. So it looks like it's going to be significantly warmer than average through the first half of September. Most definitely. Precipitation, lots of dry weather coming up for the rest of this week into the weekend. It will be more unsettled. And then next week, there are rainfall spikes coming through, although they're not that numerous and they're not that big either. So perhaps the south could hang on to a fair amount of dry weather next week. The north and west will get the most unsettled conditions. Here's the generic chart then from GFS. This is for Saturday. We've got low pressure out to the north and west. It's bringing an active cold front across the country on Saturday. Heavy band of rain sweeping through the country through the course of Saturday morning. So that's going to give us a wet start to the weekend by the look of it. That'll introduce much cooler, fresh air. We saw that with dew points. And then into Sunday, we build a bit of a ridge back into the south, albeit within cooler, fresher air. So we won't see high temperatures with this ridge. Actually, it could be quite chilly to start on Sunday morning, although the north and west of the country is turning wet and windy again with this next area of low pressure, and that could give gales actually for Scotland and Northern Ireland, I think, on Sunday night, with a lot of heavy rain as well. Into Monday, and it's wet and windy in the north and west, but the south and east continue to have quite a bit of dry weather, and this weather system very gradually moving southwards Monday into Tuesday, possibly bringing some outbreaks of rain into the south and southeast. Not sure how active it will be, but there's potential there with sunshine and showers and fairly cool westerly winds following to the north and to the west. And then the ridge comes back on Wednesday again. I'm going through into Thursday next week, and the ridge is weakening again. So as I explained yesterday, alternating air masses. Some days are going to be warm, some days are going to be cooler. And with these alternating air masses, we've also got alternating pressure. So some days we'll be under a ridge, it can be relatively dry. Other days it could be quite unsettled with some showery bursts of rain coming through. We end up on day 10, which is Friday 16th of September. Still, the ridge just about clean to the south, but generally this does look quite changeable with westerly winds and particularly windy and showery up in the north of the country. ECMWF again has this active cold front coming across the country on Saturday, bringing a lot of heavy rain to start the day and a much cooler air mass following on behind. Sunday and into Monday, we build this ridge to the south, whereas the north looks quite wet and windy. So Scotland and Northern Ireland can expect wind and rain Sunday into Monday, whereas England and Wales can expect a lot of dry weather, with temperatures probably close to average. We go through to the early part of next week. This is Tuesday, still with the ridge holding on in the south, although the north looks quite unsettled. The winds are turning into the south again with this ECMWF run, and starts to bring hotter air up from the south. I think it's a bit over the top. GFS isn't showing this, but we have seen on the ensembles there is the potential for some quite warm weather again next week, actually. So the ECM, probably a bit over the top, but it's bringing up this warm southerly wind through the middle part of next week, before again the next low pressure comes in off the Atlantic, cuts off the southerly, possibly brings a thundery breakdown on day 10, which is Friday 16th of September. Looks quite a changeable period, but the overall message is temperatures probably still just about coming out above average through the course of next week. Let's have a look at CFS V2 for the coming month, and we're going to start off 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first weekly period will take us from the 6th through to the 12th of September the coming week. We've got a ridge to the east and to the south with a trough to the northwest, and the flow is going something like that. So it's warm but increasingly unsettled as that trough moves in from the Atlantic Ocean. Week 2, which is the 13th to the 19th of September, looks generally very unsettled. Trough of low pressure is close to the country now, particularly centred to the north and west, but all places will be unsettled. The ridge has pulled out into the middle part of the Atlantic, and quite cool as well, actually, a lot cooler there, with the jet stream going on a northwest-southeast trajectory. The trough is still parked over country for week 3, which is the 20th through 26th of September. So that one looking cool and unsettled as well. Hints of northern blocking to the north of the country. And then week 4, which is 27th of September through to the 3rd of October. So we go through actually to second month of autumn with this update. And the ridge builds to the south again, trough out to the northwest. So this is essentially the ridge starting to build up from the south once more, probably turning it drier with this low pressure to the northwest gradually weakening. Let's have a look at the temperature anomalies. The next week looks very warm from the 6th to 12th of September, above average temperatures coming through then. But week 2 turns cooler. If you're waiting for some cooler temperatures, the 13th to the 19th goes a little bit below average. Week 3 also coming out below average, the 20th to 26th of September, cooler than average temperature anomalies there. And then week 4, as the ridge starts to build back up from the south to start October, so the temperatures anomalies begin to lift up once again. The precipitation coming out like this, so the northwest is wetter than average through the coming week, whereas the southeast is generally a bit drier than average. All places going a bit wetter than average for week 2. 13th to 19th of September. Week 3, which is 20th, 26th of September, that one looks wetter than average as well. And then week 4, 27th of September through to 3rd of October, still a bit wetter than average actually, which is perhaps a bit surprising given the pattern, but it's probably a transitional period. So starting unsettled and then turning drier from the south and also warmer too. But the anomaly for the week, a bit wetter than average still for that week. So the CFS implies quite a cool and changeable middle part of September before it turns warmer and drier again at the very end of the month and into the start of October. The long-range models are always experimental and unreliable, and particularly at this time of year where they're being impacted by tropical storms and hurricane type features in the Atlantic Ocean. Always a very difficult period for the long-range models to predict, so don't take that too seriously, but that's what it's suggesting with CFSV2 today. In more reliable time frame, we've got this very humid weather right now. Things will gradually improve through the coming week, but it's going to be towards the end of the week into weekend where it turns properly cool and fresh from the Atlantic. Very wet morning possible on Saturday, something to watch out for the weekend. Into next week, it looks like the north and west will keep most of the settled conditions, the south and east will keep the driest conditions, and overall temperatures probably still remaining a little bit warmer than average, especially down in the south. It's a 5-day forecast tomorrow, and we'll also have a look at Beijing Climate Centre for the next 40 days. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.